most people go through puberty before 18. Can we all agree with that? Right? And if we're doing something called a puberty blocker, it's going to have to be given to children, right? And probably children under 18. Yes, puberty blockers are for cis kids. And also trans kids, because we need to treat children equally, right? 21 states that have some form of ban or restriction for health care for transgender children in these United States. What the hell? You can't do that. You cannot have a law and say this group of children cannot take medicine A, while group B of children can take medicine A. These egregious cases that are just persecuting transgender children for existing and expressing who they are. Hello, hello, and thank you for joining me. This is a Trans Moment with Brandi Beckett. Today, we are talking about a big trans moment, a national trans moment. So on Monday, June 23rd of 2024, the Supreme Court of the United States announced that they will be taking up a challenge in Tennessee on banning healthcare for transgender minors. This is going to be on a case coming out of Tennessee. And the case in Tennessee bans healthcare for transgender individuals under 18. It bans puberty blockers for transgender children, not for cis children, just for transgender children. And it blocks all medical treatments for transgender children, but not medical treatments using the same medications and the same treatments for cis children. So in 2023, Tennessee signed into law a bill that bans health care for transgender children. Transgender children seeking gender-affirming care cannot do that in Tennessee, among 21 other states also at some degree ban health care for transgender minors. The Tennessee bill that makes it illegal for transgender children to get health care has healthy fines for those seeking health care, and for doctors that actually perform health care for gender affirming care for children, they can lose their job. They can be persecuted for treating transgender children in Tennessee. Well, let's get into it. We're looking at SCOTUSblog.com, and this is an article written on June 24th by Amy Howe. So Amy writes, while the Supreme Court grapples this term with issues ranging from presidential immunity to abortion and the power of the federal administrative agencies, the justice dockets for the 2024-2025 term has also involved mostly low-profile issues. That changed Monday. In a list of orders released on Tuesday morning, the justices agreed to take up a case challenging a Tennessee law that bans gender-affirming care for transgender youths. The justice will hear arguments in the case in the fall, with decision likely by late June or early July of 2025. So we won't really get a decision on this probably a year from now, but it's progress. SCOTUS is taking up the case in Tennessee, and that's a step in the right direction to halt these egregious cases that are just persecuting transgender children for existing and expressing who they are. Amy continues to write here, major U.S. medical groups such as American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Medical Association have opposed efforts by states to restrict gender-affirming care. in a 2021 letter to the National Governors Association, for example, the American Medical Association cited studies indicating that gender-affirming care can lead to, among other things, dramatic reductions in suicide attempts, as well as decreased rates of depression and anxiety. So that Tennessee law was centered around 3 transgender individuals: a 16-year-old transgender girl who was receiving puberty blockers and estrogen therapy, and a 13-year-old transgender boy who was receiving puberty blockers, and a 16-year-old transgender boy who was receiving puberty blockers and testosterone treatments. So those 3 individuals, they will continue to get their treatments in Tennessee, but they're the only 3 transgender children in Tennessee who legally can get treatment for their gender dysphoria. So until the Supreme Court comes to our rescue, and oh goodness, the court is not looking very progressive in this 24-25 makeup of it. No, it's honestly, the Supreme Court is more conservative than it has been in probably 60 years. But there is hope. So we're hoping out that common decency, logic, empathy, and the well-being of children will bring this Supreme Court to see that there needs to be justice for us. Transgender people need to have access to health care, regardless of your age. If you're suffering from gender dysphoria doesn't ask you your age. It doesn't look for your driver's license to see if you're over 18 so you can start treating it. Gender dysphoria hurts at all ages. So that's what we're looking at. Okay, so the Biden administration joined the case under a federal law that allows governments to intervene in private cases alleging violations of the rights of equal protection under the law if the Attorney General certifies that the case is of general public importance. So the Biden administration said, yeah, it's kind of important that transgender people get equal treatments when it comes to our laws in our healthcare system as well. So, U.S. District Judge Eli Richardson, who was appointed to the bench by former President Donald Trump, ruled that the challengers did not have a legal right to contest the ban on gender transition surgeries because they had not indicated that they wanted to undergo such surgeries. Okay, so what Judge Richardson was talking about there is this case, along with a few others I've noticed, that these cases are not addressing surgeries for transgender children. They are addressing medical, not surgical. So puberty blockers and hormone replacement therapies. That is what this Tennessee case is banning. It did address surgeries, so they're not talking about surgeries here. Okay, so Richardson says we're not dealing with the surgery parts. No, we're dealing with only medical but not surgery. But Richardson put to rest of the state's ban on hold while litigation continues. So he's like, no, this ban is not going to go into effect. You're going to pause this ban until we straighten this out a little bit on a national level. That's what Richardson said. Richardson goes on. He agreed with the challengers that, quote, parents have a fundamental right to direct medical care of their children, which naturally includes the rights of parents to request certain medical treatments on behalf of their children, close quote. And the ban violates Constitution guarantee of equal treatment for people in similar situations. Richard continued, because it prohibits medical procedures for transgender adolescents that would allow for other adolescents. Okay, so what Judge Eli Richardson's saying here is you have a case of puberty blockers, right? They're available for children under 18. Because if we try to give puberty blockers to people over 18, we're not going to have good success rate because most people go through puberty before 18. Can we all agree with that? right? And if we're doing something called a puberty blocker, it's going to have to be given to children, right? And probably children under 18, most likely children under 16. So this medication is for young children. And the state has no issue with it for cis children. So for example, I love to give this example because this happened in my own family. I have a cousin. We'll call my cousin Billy. So when Billy was a young boy, like 8 or 9 years old, he was starting to experience onsets of early puberty. And so his family was like, we need to protect the health of this child. It's not prepared to go through this puberty. It's going to change the body that he's not going to be prepared to go through. And it's not going to be a good thing for him to go through this puberty so young. So they start talking with doctors about puberty blockers. First time I ever heard of puberty blockers. I was even younger. So I heard these stories a little bit later when I got a little older. But yes, puberty blockers are for cis kids. And also trans kids, because we need to treat children equally, right? If you can stop and oppress a puberty in a child because they're not ready for that, it's not going to be good for their body, good for their mental health, good for their overall holistic well-being. You can put a pause on that. You can block it. And that's a good thing. And Tennessee wasn't arguing that. What they were arguing is we don't want that treatment for trans children. And so Richards is like, yo, you have a medicine you're saying is okay for this group of children, but not okay for this group of children. What the hell? You can't do that. You cannot have a law and say this group of children cannot take medicine A, while group B of children can take medicine A. Group A and group B are both children, and medicine can treat both groups. Allow both groups access to the medicine, not just one group and not the other. So hopefully that holds up in the Supreme Court. It seems like it should, right? But Tennessee is not the only state to ban healthcare treatments for transgender children. Another case that's popped up and is really egregious is Kentucky. Kentucky also in 2023 signed into law a ban on healthcare treatments for transgender children. So altogether, there are 21 states that have some form of ban or restriction for healthcare for transgender children in these United States. In 2024, we need to stop that, people. We need access to healthcare across all the states. Transgender children exist in all of the states. Transgender people exist in all of the states because transgender people exist across all of the societies, all of the humans, because a certain portion of humans happen to be trans. As long as you box everyone into a binary gender labeling system, not everyone's going to fit into that system. So you have people who fit nicely into the other box of gender identity that we create and construct in our society. And we have people that don't fit into either one of those binary boxes that we've created in our society. So that is going to happen throughout humanity as long as you try to put humans into box A or box B in their gender. There's going to be people who don't fit into those assignments. So yeah, across not just all states, but all countries, all places where people live. If you have a large enough group of people, you're going to have some of those people who just don't fit into a binary system, or at least the binary assignment that was given to them. What I'm saying is transgender people exist. Non-binary people exist. And we exist in all forms. We exist in adult form. We exist in adolescent form. We even exist in young child form. Yes. And In today's trans moments, we have a bright trans moment. It's a positive trans moment, at least as I see it. We're taking up this battle on a national level, and it's going to be under a bright spotlight in the 2024 presidential election. Transgender existence is a hot topic, and the Supreme Court getting involved in the fight of our existence and our wanting equality in laws and in medical treatments. Yeah, I think it's time that SCOTUS steps up and hopefully helps us. So, yay, hopefully, I think yay. I think this is a good trans moment. Well, that has been a trans moment, and I am Brandi Beckett. I'm leaving you, as I always do, with this message. Love yourself, but more importantly, like yourself, and treat people the way they want to be treated. Bye-bye for now.